Well, he's being held at the Estcourt correctional facility, and our reporter Samkele Maseko is standing by there. A very good morning to you again, Samkele. Thank you so much for joining us. I understand that former President Jacob Zuma supporters are now flocking into the Estcourt Correctional Center. What are you seeing there?
At this point in time, what we do know is that those supporters of former President Jacob Zuma will be arriving here at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We did see a tweet earlier on by Carl Niehaus. In fact, we can also confirm that moments ago, just about 5 minutes ago, we saw the National Commissioner of Correctional Services, Arthur Fraser, driving into this Estcourt Correctional Services facility. You'd know Arthur Fraser. He's a strong and known ally of former President Jacob Zuma, particularly during his days when he was still in the State Security Agency and the intelligence systems within the Republic of South Africa. So he has arrived. We're also anticipating the arrival of the Minister of Correctional Services. That would be Ronald Lamola, who's going to be briefing the media outside here on the processing of former President Jacob Zuma, who did arrive at this correctional services facility at 1:30 in the early hours of this morning. But the supporters of former President Jacob Zuma will be coming here at 2 o'clock this afternoon to pledge their solidarity in their comrade, and also whom is dubbed by the suspended Secretary General of the ANC, Ace Magashule, as their Commander-in-Chief.
All right, and we understand that Ronald Lamola will be making a press briefing there. What are the expectations of that? Because we know that former President Jacob Zuma has already been, incarcerated.
We expect that the minister will speak on the processing proceedings of former President Jacob Zuma. As when he arrived, I'm just going to ask my colleague Kwazi just to show you there is a venue as you arrive and when you enter this particular prison, which is used to process inmates when they arrive here at this correctional services facility. But that was not utilized yesterday, as the former president's convoy drove inside this correctional services facility and went around the correctional services facility and went all the way to the back, where the former president, we are told in good authority, that he is currently in self-isolation due to COVID-19 protocols in the Republic of South Africa, and also due to his life-threatening health conditions, that he has been kept in a hospital cell here inside the correctional services facility, which is something that has also been detailed extensively in his various court papers to the Pietermaritzburg High Court and also to the Constitutional Court for the rescission application that will be heard next week on the 12th of July.
Now, Samkele, should Zuma's detractors and enemies write him off already? I mean, is it the end of the road for Zuma? Just given the fact that there's other possibilities that, he might be released. As we've mentioned earlier on, the Pietermaritzburg High Court is still yet to hear that rescission of sentence, a case which will be a stay of sentence, I beg your pardon, which will be held on the 12th of July. And there's a possibility that he might be granted parole. Do you think it's the end of the road, or there's a possibility that Zuma might be, as other people say, he's got 9 lives, that one life he still need to live?
At this point in time, we can't determine what's going to happen to the former president, particularly knowing that there is a judgment that will be delivered by the Pietermaritzburg High Court on Friday on the stay of execution of the former president's arrest. We do know that the Constitutional Court did not entertain the former president's letter that was sent to the Constitutional Court yesterday evening, despite there being murmurs and reports by some media outlets that the Constitutional Court was meeting yesterday evening to further deliberate and to consider the former president's letter, which was not the case. Instead, it was the former president's legal team working around the clock to make sure that once their client hands himself in, all systems are done properly. But I'm going to bring in the spokesperson of the Department of Correctional Services just to speak on what we anticipate the Minister of Correctional Services, Ronald Lamola. Sir, just to speak, what can we anticipate once the minister arrives and once he addresses the media outside this correctional services facility?
Thank you very much. The minister will give more details of the conditions of the former president and how the admission has been handled thus far and what is to follow from here. You will know that he was admitted just after 1 a.m., so the assessment is ongoing, but the minister will give more details.
Yesterday evening, you were one of the individuals that were here when the former president arrived. What process was undertaken when he arrived? Was he were his pictures taken? Were his thumbs rolled for him to be entered into the system? What transpired?
That is phase 1 of admission, which is what we call receipt of J7, the admission warrant, which then states that this is Singabako that we are admitting, who is sentenced to this number of years. Then he must be fingerprinted, photo taken, issued with uniform, and also to make it a point that the warrant is valid. Then from there, the inmate must be taken to a cell, which is the beginning of the orientation process.
So we can say at this point in time that the former president is wearing that orange uniform that is worn by prisoners in South Africa.
The former president has been issued with appropriate uniform, which he will have to use as a sentenced individual. And then he will also be guided about other things. You will know that the last time he was behind bars was during apartheid, so a lot has changed. So therefore, we can't take it for granted. Therefore, he needs to undergo through orientation for him to know exactly what to do if he has some requests, complaints, or other things where you may need clarity. So as a department, we must be available to assist.
We understand at this point in time that he's in isolation in one of the hospital cells here at the Correctional Services Center. Why is that he was put in isolation and put in a hospital cell?
Due to COVID-19, all newly admitted inmates are kept in isolation. The window period there is 14 days. Once cleared, they are then moved into the general inmate population. But we must be sure that they do not have COVID in their system or other illnesses or anything else that we may identify to be a point of concern. So as a department, he will be there until he's cleared, but that is also give us an opportunity to wrap up the assessment process.
Will he be spending the rest of his 15 months at this particular correctional services facility?
The assessment will determine whether this is an appropriate facility to look after him. It's that assessment which will also guide what others that we need to respond to if he has other needs that we will have to look into, be it healthcare, mental status, vulnerability, suicide risk, and others, even in terms of developmental, because after this assessment, you then undergo what is called now a holistic assessment, which looks beyond just issues of vulnerabilities and responding to immediate needs.
Why will you move him to a general ward if he had threatened in his court papers that his life may be at risk if he is particularly taken to an over-clustered area with other inmates?
It's not a general ward, but it's an isolation section of the facility, and then that's where we are taking precautions so that what if someone is having COVID in the system but is not yet showing symptoms. So keep the person there until cleared, then the assessment will determine where to take that person to.
Thank you very much. So they're saying that the former president is currently in isolation due to COVID-19 protocols, but they're still going to do an assessment which would include a security assessment on the former president to determine where he will be placed in this correctional services facility. You may find that he may further stay in an isolated cell for his own protection, particularly knowing the court papers that he had filed.